Let's stick in Alberta actually because Edmonton finally signed Kailer Yamamoto.
Are we going to the team that almost put them into a rebuild?
They did put them into a rebuild. They did. We won't talk about that for the sake of Flames fans after we just hyped your team up a little bit. 2 years, 3.1 mil for Yamamoto. What do you think? Because this is a confusing player for me, but I'll let you talk first.
You took the words right out of my mouth. On my notes here, I have one word. The word is puzzling, to say the least. Like, why spend a combined $6 million on Puljujarvi and Kailer Yamamoto when this decor is just so bad, and when you already have an insane amount of forward depth, and when now you're like $6 million over the cap? I don't understand.
Yeah, so from that perspective, in terms of roster construction, that makes a lot of sense. Like maybe there was a way for you to trade one of their rights for a defenseman because it's clear that defensively is where they need to direct their focus. I'm just confused about this player.
Me too.
I thought he was better than the stats suggest that he is.
He's pretty average.
He seems very average. I think a lot of the commentary of Edmonton or commentary that you just hear is that he's this gritty player who forechecks hard. He's got some skill. He's almost been described as a Zach Hyman with more skill at that age. Guy who can score, a guy who's going to be a pest, get in the corners and do the things. But like I alluded to, the stats don't really point to him being that. I feel like he's almost is overrated a right word to use for him, or is maybe like we've just been misled as fans as the type of player that he is.
I think overrated is the right word. He's in the 36th percentile of expected value of offense and sub 40th percentile of defense. Not only that, I looked at his play driving stats because when you described him as like a very gritty checker, like there's very little play driving.
Does
here.
Nothing.
Yeah, like his zone entries and exits are like very, very poor. And when you compare him to a guy like Jesse Puljujarvi, who's like one of the better play drivers on that team, it really blows my mind why Oilers fans love Yamamoto and talk so much smack about Puljujarvi.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like narratives play a huge role. Like with fans, I think when Yamamoto came in, he had a pretty good start and he was doing the things that we described, and maybe that reputation has just stuck with him. Like reputations stick around. Like people think that certain players are great two-way or great this, great that, and like in reality they're just not. I think one of the names that stick out to me the most that a lot of people think, like Dubois, who's one of my least favorite players in the league, so I've got the opportunity to talk poorly about him. I will. They think he's like, oh, this great big 6'4" two-way forward. He's got to be one of the worst centermen in the league defensively.
Yeah,
he's just not good. But the fact that he's big and Canadian, automatically you get slapped with a two-way forward thing. It's just narratives are maybe one of the most. They play such a big factor in hockey compared to other sports, in my opinion.
Very true, very true. I mean, that sounds a lot like the other first-line center that plays for the Winnipeg Jets as well.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah, they think that they're branded as the same player, and they're the same player in a bad way.
Moving back to this Yamamoto deal, I don't understand. Like I said, I don't want to repeat myself, but you had no money, and you spent it on a depth guy who just doesn't push play at all. And it's even like it just doesn't make sense to me because now once again, surprise, surprise, the Edmonton Oilers have no cap space. I looked on capfriendly.com. They're in the hole by $6 million.
Wow.
They definitely need to move a depth forward and a bad defenseman because they have too many of both of them. And they just signed another depth defenseman. Like the only contracts that come to mind here that are able to be moved are Warren Fagelli. I think I said that name right. Seems to be the only option. Sorry, Fogel. Fogel. He makes $2.75 for the next 2 years, and then maybe one other of Barry and Ceci, who make $4.5 and $3.2 respectively. Those are the only ways that I can see them meeting cap compliance and not destroying their roster. But, like, is a team going to have to take a first-round pick in order to take the Ceci or Barry contract? Because they're bad.
Yeah, they didn't really. Yeah, they're in a tough spot. And I don't understand. Ken Holland spends his cap space quicker than any GM I've seen. He came out into this season where he was going to have surprisingly a lot of cap space because he got rid of Koskinen, or they didn't get rid of, the deals expired. Koskinen, Smith signed on TIR, and then Duncan Keith retired, which freed them a ton of cap space. They had over $10 million in cap space, which is rare nowadays. Then he spent it so quickly, and now they're in a difficult spot and he has no leverage.
You know what one contract is killing the Edmonton Oilers more than any other one? Can you guess it?
Connor McDavid.
No, the Connor McDavid.
Highest paid player in the league. I don't know.
The contract that's killing the Edmonton Oilers is Darnell Nurse, and it's not even close.
Yeah, it makes these because it's kicking only this year, right? 9 point what?
That's a hot topic, but like Darnell Nurse gets paid $9.25 million.
That's a lot.
And let me show you his defensive stats really quickly. He's in the 5th percentile of defensive metrics among defensemen in the NHL. Granted, he's in the top 4% of offensive production among defensemen. But like, if there's any team that you would think a player is so offensively gifted and so defensively poor, you would think it's the Edmonton Oilers, and you would think the Edmonton Oilers need to stay away from this type of player because they're already so heavily skewed to winning games 7-6 or losing them 7-6.
Yeah.
And now when you go and tie up this much of the cap on a guy making $9.25 million, I don't understand. And when I look back and check his player cards at the time that this deal was signed, he was also so poor defensively. I don't understand what was going through that GM's head. I don't understand.
I think you got to pay a tax.
Like they do in Calgary? Is that what you mean?
You got to pay a tax to keep guys around. And let's be real, guys, defensemen in particular, who put up a lot of points. It's honestly both forwards and defensemen. If you're a player and you put up a lot of points for your position, you will get paid, regardless of that. If that's the way it should be or not, that's just the way that it is.
Mm-hmm.
You always see it. We just saw with Huberdeau. He's a great offensively, got a huge contract. Same here, great offensively, got a huge contract. I think where they go wrong is that they don't surround him with good defensive players. If he's playing with Cody Ceci or Tyson Barrie, you basically have two civs playing defense together.
Get exposed, yeah.
And so if you're going to spend that type of money, which, you want guys like this, they don't grow on trees, surround him with players who are going to like allow him to really flourish offensively, but then also not make him be the offensive liability if you have a good partnership going. Like, that's something that we see with like guys like Kailer Yamamoto, who is a good defenseman. But you see when like you have these guys who are literally one-way defensemen, just put him with a guy who's going to stay at home and at least make him look somewhat respectable defensively.
That's why I thought for sure they were going to take that $3 million that they hadn't spent on Yamamoto yet and go out and get a big time defensive defenseman. And it even like this contract kills Edmonton so much more because they have a guy who's exactly like Darnell Nurse, making league minimum almost, in Evan Bouchard.
Yeah, right? He's good.
He's unbelievable, but he's also phenomenal offensively and terrible defensively. And this isn't me hating on Darnell Nurse. He's one of the best Canadian defensemen in the league right now. He's a phenomenal overall defenseman. I'm not saying that he's bad. I'm saying that the Edmonton Oilers need to stay away from these types of players, and they keep going out and signing them. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Like, one's okay. You have a Darnell Nurse. Every team in the league takes that, but you don't want 5 of them, and they do.
For sure.
Have 5 of them. All right. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content, and find the link to our full podcast and all our socials in the description down below.
Also, don't forget to turn on those notifications to get live updates on new videos that we release.